Weird courses in Mario Kart. I didn't think that I would talk about this series again, but here we are. The majority of courses in Mario Kart are fine, however, some of them are weird. What do I mean by weird? Basically, courses that have some problems with the design or layout. This includes gimmicks, structure, and other things. I'm not counting crossover courses or alternate versions like reverse or trick tracks. If I did that, then I would have talked about Mario Kart Tour for an entire video again, and I don't want to do that. Blah blah blah, this is my opinion, blah blah blah, the video is subjective, you get it. At least you should. With that said, let's go! Also, could you please subscribe? I wanna reach 500 subscribers at the end of the year. Thanks. Baby Park has always been a strange case to me. It has one of the simplest layouts in the entire game. It's novel. In Double Dash, it's pretty much the definition of chaos. But why? In short, items. In Mario Kart Double Dash you have 8 pairs driving a cart. Each pair can hold 2 items. In total, those are 16 items that can be held at the same time. The only games that beat this number are Deluxe and Tour. 16 items are insane. Placing banana peels, throwing green, red or blue shells, or even driving through everyone with stars. These are ordinary things in every other course. However, Baby Park is really small. One lap is finished after 15 seconds, and has 7 of them. You will lap drivers a lot. First place can get hit by a star from 7th place, and 6th place has a chance to get hit by a blue shell. Now include the special items that each pair has, plus you can mix up the pairs to get 2 individual special items, like Chain Chomp, Giant Banana, Bowser Shell, and many more. Baby Park turns into item hell. In Double Dash. Mario Kart 8 made the entire track anti-gravity, 8 Deluxe doubles the item storage, and brings back double item boxes from Double Dash. What does DS have? A touchscreen that tells you what items your opponents have. This is useful, but this is Baby Park. DS only has 8 characters, 8 items that can be held, some newly included items while removing special items and lowering the lap count from 7 to 5 for some reason. There's no chaos here, it's just nothing and boring. I always thought it was weird that Nintendo brought the course back in 8, even though 8 adds the anti-gravity gimmick and 4 additional racers. That's not really much to change my opinion on this track. It took them until 8 Deluxe to make Baby Park fun, mainly because you can hold more items, get more items, personalize them too. To summarize, Baby Park was fun, then it wasn't, repeat until they made it fun again, and Tour made it chaotic again, so we came back full circle. Just like the course, oh my god! Rainbow Road is one of my favorite tracks in any Mario Kart. They're one of the most difficult tracks in the series, which makes sense since Rainbow Road is the final track excluding Retro Cups. And it also has a beautiful aesthetic, unless you're Mario Kart 8. I'm not into the space station theme that this one has, but overall the stage is pretty alright to drive through. However, this isn't about Mario Kart 8. Well, kinda. It's about Mario Kart 64. And 64 Rainbow Road is notorious for being the longest course in Mario Kart history. For context, the world record without shortcuts is around 5 minutes 50 seconds. With the shortcut, you could finish each lap at 15 seconds. Here's the shortcut in question. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Driving through the track casually will probably take you around 6.5 to 7 minutes. While you drive through the track, you will occasionally see a few chain chomps and drift through some curves, and that's it. You can't even really fall off because there is so much railing. It basically goes for the entire course. And then there are the times when nothing happens. Cool. Nintendo fixed this track in 8. They added an anti-gravity and a flying section. But the most important change is driving only 1 lap instead of 3. Well, 3 sections which ends up in a giant lap. They also enhanced the aesthetic by a million. I don't know if this is a hot take, but Kalimari Desert is garbage. It only has the train as a hazard. The gimmick is that the train is stopping you for a few seconds. There's nothing else on the stage except for the train. 7 added a glider shortcut and 8 Deluxe changed the final lap a bit. It's still not enough. This course is still garbage. I don't like it, and I don't understand why people pick this track online. Congratulations Kalimari Desert, you managed to stay consistently garbage every time you come back. How would I change this map? Easy. Firstly, we add a giant spike that destroys the train. Meanwhile, we take a bunch of Koopas that recreate Ozymandias. And then we add little Pac-Mans that eat your balls when you collide with them. Oh, and we need... I decided to include all the City Tour tracks in 8 Deluxe specifically. All of them have something in common. The layout is really confusing. These tracks have different routes depending on the lap. They also have a more realistic design approach to the map, which isn't a big deal at all. Just something I want to mention. But what do I mean by confusing layouts? It's hard to figure out where to go sometimes. The game does a poor job of showing us simple directions. To be fair, there are a few of them that aren't difficult to see. So I decided to list those going from the simplest tracks to the complex ones. I'm not gonna include Rome and Madrid since these two aren't in Deluxe yet at the time of this recording. Tokyo Blur has a pretty simple layout, all things considered. The alternate routes are pretty visible and are highlighted in time. This track doesn't really have a confusing layout, albeit it is the most boring city track. New York Minute. Its layout is pretty similar to Tokyo Blur. I personally think it's more fun to drive there. The reason why I think New York Minute is more complex than Tokyo Blur is because lap 3 in New York can throw some players off, especially if they play it for the first time. Paris Promenade. It's the first tour track that got ported to 8 Deluxe alongside Tokyo Blur. The layout is simple, however, it at least needs some races to get used to. Vancouver Velocity. This one's easier to drive than I remember. Not as easy as the other ones mentioned prior, but overall still simple. My only issues are with a few curves where you can't see anything because the camera is misplaced. Berlin Byways. I don't know if I'm biased here because I do happen to live in the city. I thought this was surprisingly easy to drive through the stage. However, I can imagine how someone can easily fall for some false directions, so to speak. It can be complex for others, but it isn't for me. London Loop. The British. This is the track where the directions are harder to follow, and it gets only worse from here, and it's also pretty boring. Singapore Speedway. I couldn't really decide between London Loop and Singapore Speedway. Both of them have similar problems, but I decided to have this one being the harder one of the two. It's at least a fun track. Sydney Sprint. The biggest sin is that this track isn't upside down. I don't think I have more to add for this one. It's pretty much like the last. Could have been worse. Los Angeles Labs. So this is what GTA 5 looks like. We have now reached a point where the tracks just don't even try with directions. This layout is horrible, but at least there's a baseball minigame. Amsterdam Drift. Amsterdam Drift has a really unique course design, however it comes with the cost of me touching every wall like I was trying to escape a maze. Bangkok Rush. If I have to ask for directions in Mario Kart, you know it's bad. And the design of the stage isn't all that appealing to me either. Athens Dash. Athens Dash is pretty similar to Amsterdam Drift. Both tracks have pretty unique designs, but unfortunately are very complex in the layout. This one specifically is like 30 times harder than Amsterdam Drift. If bumping into walls or driving out of bounds was a job, then I need to hire a lawyer and launder my money. For legal reasons, that's a joke.
Alright, so Mario Kart 7 for the 3DS got a lot of banger maps. Like for example Toad Circuit, Woohoo Mountain Loop, Music Park, but the best one of them all is definitely Woohoo Island Loop. Woohoo Island is from that one Wii game your grandparents bought you that no one except for me remembers. And this map, oh boy, it's got such a cool scenery. You start out in this beautiful city and then drive along the beach, up on the Golden Gate Bridge with a Zeppelin flying above, reminding you of that one console Nintendo made that everyone was forced to buy. You continue along the beach into this really nice tunnel that just looks so juicy. Anyways, up the mountain, down the mountain, my god, this map is so good. And since it's a section map, you'll end right where you started in that beautiful, beautiful village. And it's fun to play on and race on, and enough of this. The real reason I talk about this map here and now is because it gets my dick so goddamn hard.
Before we get to the final track, here are some honorable mentions. SNES Bowser Castle 2, Vanilla Lake 2, Toad's Turnpike N64, Warrior Stadium, Broken Pier, Dry Desert GameCube, Desert Hills, Mushroom Gorge, Mario Circuit, and Merry Mountain. Now finally, here's the track y'all have been waiting for. The weirdest track in the Mario Kart series is Big Blue. I hate this track! This track has a horrible layout and a stupid Nah, I'm just kidding. It's Sky High Sundae. Like most courses, it's more the layout that is the issue, even though the design isn't the greatest either. It's just a bunch of ice cream. Driving through the course, you can gather a lot of speed, which is fun. You can even outrun a blue shell on this track. However, the track is over before it even started. Seriously, I almost forgot that this track even existed. I really wish that Sky High Sundae was a bit longer. Also, I'm not a fan of this part of the track. I feel like adding a flying section in a course where you boost from start to finish is a bit too much for me. In the end of the day, most courses that I mentioned are still fun to play. I guess this says more about how capable Nintendo is when it comes to creating racetracks. I wish they had this kind of consistency in other spin-offs, but oh well. If you enjoyed this video, then like, subscribe, and watch Deconaut 5 and Deco Plus 5. Goodbye! Oh, and thanks buddy.